Hello everyone, and welcome to Storytime. Today's story is part 4 of A Tale of Two Friends. As you recall, last time, Cleo and Neisha were playing in the flower fields where they got a message from their mum. Something dangerous had happened. So today we find out what happened. So today, part 4, Escape. Neisha's mum paused screaming and looked directly at her. She saw that Cleo was with her. "Rah, rah, rah, rah!" she yelled at her. "Rah!" Neisha replied. "Rah, rah!" The big creatures looked at Neisha's mum and turned to where she was looking. They saw Neisha and Cleo and started running towards them. They were quick. "Rah!" Neisha shook her head, bared her teeth, grabbed Cleo gently by the neck, but strong enough to hold her, and dragged her into the flowers again. Neisha kicked her hind legs, pushing against the flowers. She said. Neisha said through gritted teeth. She shook more and was able to break free from Neisha's grip. Cleo got to her feet and started running towards the windmills. Neisha hesitated for a bit before chasing her. She sniffed the air and followed the scent that Cleo had released. Her scent was easily distinguishable from the flowers now. It was probably because they were good friends, she thought to herself. Neisha heard Cleo yell out. Neisha saw the big two-legged monsters holding onto Cleo, putting her into a box. She looked to see who was around. There was supposed to be 2 of them. She spotted the other one, already walking back to where they kept the family, in the moving boxes. "Ow!" Cleo yelled out. Neisha, filled with bravery, took a deep breath and ran out of the flower field. Neisha yelled out, before running up to the two-legged monster and bit it. "Ah!" the monster cried in surprise. Neisha's bite wasn't strong, but it was enough to startle the monster. It dropped the box that Cleo was in, and the door swung open. Cleo jumped out. Cleo yelled back at Neisha before dashing off into the fields. Neisha released the monster, kicked off it, and followed Cleo. "Come back!" they heard the monsters cry. "What's it saying?" Neisha thought. She sniffed the air and followed to where Cleo was hiding. "Arr?" she asked Cleo. Cleo nodded her head. "Well," she said quietly. They started to move, running in the direction that they knew the monsters were not. Cleo was amazed at how elegantly Neisha was moving through the stalks. Her movements were exactly what she thought she saw in the footprints. She did the stomp, twist, and kick movement very well. Cleo, on the other hand, now knowing that the flowers didn't really hurt, just ran right through them. This caused the flowers to shake. As much as they would run, they could hear the panting of the monsters behind them. She said to Neisha. Neisha slowed down a bit. If they were going to get caught by the monsters, Neisha wanted to be the one to sacrifice herself so that Cleo could be free. That's when she noticed how Cleo was running. She shook her head. She said. Cleo said defensively. Cleo had a doy moment. Of course Neisha would run that way. She was trying not to be caught, and that was how she would run around Cleo without her sensing where they were going earlier that day. Neisha sped up again. She said as she continued her movement. Cleo followed what she was doing as well. They were now weaving through the flowers without a single whisper. As they continued to run, they heard the panting of the monsters stop. "Where are they?" they heard the monsters say in confusion. They slowed down and moved near a clumpy bunch of flowers where they slipped in and lay down. They looked at each other without saying a word. Neisha put out a paw, and Cleo placed her paw on top. They waited. The sky gradually got darker, and the calls of the monsters were getting less and more distant. Eventually, the voices disappeared. They still didn't move, in fear that the monsters were playing tricks on them. It wasn't until the sky was completely dark where they felt safe to talk. Neisha said, standing up. Cleo replied, thinking about what would happen when they returned. The two friends made their way back to the windmill using Neisha's nose. She was getting better at filtering out the smell that came to her. She was able to just focus on the trail that they had created when they moved to the flower fields. The smell they had followed had a sweet honey smell to it. It was much sweeter than the flowers in the fields, so it was easy to follow that trail. Neisha's smell was Neisha. She couldn't really describe it, but it was distinctly her. As sunlight completely left the sky, Neisha found herself bumping more and more into the flower stalks. Although they were sure that the monsters had gone, they wanted to make sure that they didn't alert anyone to them. Cleo said as she opened her eyes wider. Although the moon was not out, she was able to still see the world as clear as in the sunlight. They walked with Cleo, weaving at the front, and Neisha directing at the back. It was slow, but it worked. They got to the edge of the flower field where they waited a bit, making sure that the monsters had gone. The box had gone, so they figured it was safe for both of them to go to the windmill. They reached the windmill and entered through the small gap that Neisha and Cleo had left earlier that day. The whole place was messy, messier than before. The sheets that were in the cupboard were spread out all over the floor. The pillow that Neisha used as a bed was now on the table, slumped against the wall. Things were knocked down, cupboards moved, and cups broken. Cleo moved around, looking at everything, trying to determine how everything might have happened. She looked at the dishes, at the cupboards. She zoomed around the whole place. She was very quick. Neisha, on the other hand, sat in the middle of the room. She sobbed silently at first, before she let out a heartbreaking cry. Cleo stopped her investigating and went down beside Neisha. Neisha let out another cry. Cleo's eyes started to well up too, and she too was crying. Her cry was lower, but just as sad. They sat there crying for a while. Unexpectedly, the images of Neisha's mum crying out to them flashed in her mind. She shut up quickly and placed her paws over to shut Neisha up as well. She warned, her eyes darting around. Neisha stifled her cry and nodded. She asked in a low voice. She tried to get her mind off the current situation. Cleo stated the obvious. Cleo looked around at everything. She looked at the sheets and the pillows. She said. She dragged the sheets that had been her bed over to Neisha. She moved in close and looked Neisha in her ice blue eyes, piercing her with her deep purple eyes. Neisha nodded, and Cleo broke her gaze. Neisha went to the sheets and took a deep breath in of the sheet's scent, while Cleo bounced off to another part of the room. Remember all the smells, she said. Neisha closed her eyes and took another deep smell. She sniffed it again. There was a familiar smell of Cleo, a young and sharp smell of honey, but there was another sweet smell, a more mellow smell, one that smelled like it had aged, and it was mixed with grassy and wet undertones. Cleo's mother. The other two smells were very similar. They smelt of dirt and grass, mixed with a slightly fishy smell. It must have been Jasper's and Leo's smell. They were alike in looks and in smell, but one was more stronger, more pungent. One was like a strong grass smell, and the other was like a weedy smell. She took in another deep sniff, and this time assigned a color to each of the different smell. Purple for Cleo, blue for Luna, green for Jasper, probably, and yellow for Leo, again, probably. She opened her eyes and looked around. She shook her head at everything. Something was wrong with her vision. Everything was colored in different lights, with purple being the strongest. Cleo nudged Neisha from behind. She had dragged the cushion from the table down and over to Neisha. Neisha looked at her, blinking rapidly. Cleo asked curiously. Cleo's curiosity spiked higher. Cleo wanted to press even more, but she thought better of it. She knew enough now to know that Cleo just knew how to do things. She clawed the cushion closer to Neisha. Neisha closed her eyes and inhaled a deep breath. The familiar smell of her was there. And then there was the older version of her, just like Luna and Cleo. The older version of her smell had a stronger iron smell mixed into it, along with mud. Her two brothers were interesting too. They had a crisp smell to them, like cold rain, mixed with leafy green undertones. One of her brothers had a weak iron smell to him. Neisha again separated the smells in her mind and placed them into different colors. Yellow for Buddy, probably. Orange for Bailey, probably. And red for her mother. When she opened her eyes again, it filled with the colors she had just assigned. She looked at Cleo. Rah, rah. Cleo said. She yawned. She was tired. The whole day had been emotionally taxing for her. And physically taxing. And that ends part 4 of A Tale of New Friends. Join me next time for part 5. Until then, goodbye.